Hello again, everybody. It's time, once again, for Coco and Dalts. I'm not Coco.
And I'm not Dalts. And before we get started with our all-music episode today, I would like to take a moment to apologize for my performance in episode 6, our previous performance. Dalts is giving me a look, and you're going to stop that because I want to say something. I was kind of a sputtering, incoherent mess when we talked about the whole Michigan State thing, and that's because what I wanted to articulate, that I don't think I articulated well, is that I don't understand why the NCAA considers it a bigger deal for recruits to get shoeboxes full of cash than institutionalized cover-up of child rape for many years. If there's one thing that should not be controversial in any world, not just the sports world, it's taking a strong stand against child abuse, and yet the NCAA is not doing that with Penn State or with Michigan State, with the Larry Nassar situation, with NCAA President Mark Emmert saying, I don't have enough information to comment on that. So we are officially in the upside down, and this is why we can't have nice things, America. So I would just like to apologize to our single drunken Swedish listener for not articulating my thoughts very well in episode 6.
I don't agree. Maybe we'll edit that segment out.
I don't think we should, but okay.
So our special music episode is going to talk about the Grammys, which were, as we record this, very recently, last night, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And so, any thoughts on the Grammys, Coco? Anything on the top of your mind right now that you'd like to talk about?
Well, we didn't watch the Grammys.
Because we don't watch award shows.
We don't, because they are terrible and pointless and bloated and long and self-congratulatory and
by the way, can you really have award shows for art? It's so subjective.
That's true. That's very true. Maybe that should be a segment on the podcast.
Well, this is the podcast, and this is the segment.
So we didn't watch them, although my coworker told me that he did watch the Grammys, and it was boring. So
Newsflash.
Right.
This just in, an award show is boring.
So I don't think we missed much.
No, I don't think we did. We did, so for those who care, record of the year was Bruno Mars' 24K Magic. Album of the year. So what's the difference between record of the year and album of the year?
I think record of the year is the actual song, like the single, and then album of the year is the full album.
So, reading from the Grammy.com website.
If only there were a tool in my hand that I could use to look up the difference.
The record of the year is award to the artist and to the producer, parentheses S, recording engineers and or mixers and mastering engineers, if other than the artist. So, award to the artist for record of the year. Album of the year, award to the artist and featured artist, songwriters of new material, credited with at least 33% playing time of the album, if other than the artist. So there's no delineation, no clear delineation on the website by the Grammy.com. And it's not Grammys.com, it's Grammy.com.
Oh.
Saying record of the year and album of the year. So to me, they're the same thing. And Bruno Mars won that too. So he won 2 of those. And then he won a third Grammy as well. So he won 3 awards that night. So he was the big winner, is what I'm trying to say. If you can count winning an award for the same thing twice as being a big winner. My favorite moments were the fact that the War on Drugs won for their album A Deeper Understanding. And also, that was Best Rock Album.
I love the way you say that.
But that's why I had the dramatic pause. Because Coco really liked that. So, they were up for Best Rock Album. Also nominated in that category, Mastodon.
Have I ever heard of Mastodon?
Probably. Metallica, you've heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing More, and Queens of the Stone Age, who are fantastic live, as is The War on Drugs. So that was...
We saw The War on Drugs in September.
We did indeed. And were they not great?
They were great.
We saw them in New York in
Central Park.
Central Park, indeed we did. The other highlight for me at the Grammys, Best Alternative Music Album. So why do they have to have music in the title there? Isn't this all about music? Except a comedy album.
I think there's the spoken word album. So,
right. So wouldn't you distinguish that by saying comedy or spoken word and everything else is music? I don't understand some of these categories, people.
The Grammys need copy editors.
Best Alternative Music Album, as opposed to a Best Alternative Photo Album, I guess.
It's all pictures of like Kurt Cobain looking forlorn.
Madonna's photo album, that would probably win some awards. But
yikes! Yeah.
So the national one for Sleep Well Beast in that category, which is I'm also a big National fan. They were up against Arcade Fire, Gorillaz, apparently.
Which we were discussing this last night. We didn't know that Gorillaz
are back.
Still around. They had that one kind of quirky hit in 2004 or something, and we didn't know they were still a thing.
They're back. LCD Sound System and Father John Misty. So those...
Father John Misty?
Father John Misty, who is very often played on the War on Drugs station on Amazon.
Oh, I didn't.
And or Pandora.
I didn't realize that.
So it's that kind of music. So those are the big winners and key winners for me. That also shows, so the Nationals great, but that was not their best album. I've listened to that album. I have all their other albums, and Boxer is probably my favorite. High Violet is also a good album. These are big, famous, award-winning albums on their own, but I didn't think their latest was their best. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the fact that the War on Drugs was recognized as top-notch in rock album category makes me happy.
Yeah, that's definitely a step in the right direction. Their last album before this one, I think, wasn't nominated for anything, maybe. So the fact that it's baby steps
getting there
into recognizing the War on Drugs talent is excellent.
Well, and they're a hardworking band. They are from Philadelphia, which is not what you think of when you think... There's a lot of good things coming out of Philadelphia, and some bad.
Like the Rocky statue being removed from the Philadelphia Art Museum steps because it's not allegedly art, according to the Philly City Council or something.
I think their definition of art is a little bit too...
literal?
Pompous,
yeah,
is what I was going for.
Okay.
So War on Drugs, Adam Grantuseal, I think I butchered that. He's the main guy. He's the lyrics, vocals, and guitar dude in that. So that band's been around for a long time. And you were mentioning their last album, which is a fantastic album, Lost in the Dream, which was released on December 4th, 2013. Of course, we're talking about A Deeper Understanding.
I love it when you say that. That's so awesome.
Which was released, the single from that was released on April 22nd, 2017. So, unlike Alicia Cara, who won for an album that was released in 2015, the War on Drugs were actually recognized for work in the last year.
Well, the Grammys have wonky submission deadlines. Like, I know Taylor Swift's most recent album, which is trash based on the singles, was not nominated for any of the major awards because the full album dropped right after the submission deadline. If I would have bothered to do any research for this, I think I remember maybe the very first single might have gotten nominated for something because it just squeaked in, but Taylor Swift will probably be a prominent presence at the Grammys next year, which is yet another reason not to watch. So the submission deadlines are always weird for that sort of thing, which is why you have somebody who released an album in 2015 winning now.
In 2018.
Right.
And there was much controversy about that afterward because she was Alicia Cara, who's from the same hometown as I am in Ontario. She won for that, and a lot of the artists who were up against her or supporting the artists who were up against her as Best New Artist were a little bit torqued off about that. They didn't understand why she got Best New Artist, which I can understand. If she had most recently released something in 2015.
So, worst Best New Artist winner.
Oh, wow.
Alicia Cara or Milli Vanilli?
Oh, now see, I like Milli Vanilli.
Me too.
I like the Milli Vanilli. I just didn't like the whole fakeitude about it. I like the music.
I mean, in the entertainment industry, there's often the element of do not pay attention to that man behind the curtain. So
Right.
Milli Vanilli is really not, they're not the first and they're not the last.
They are not the last. That's true. That is true. And so what happened with the ratings, Coco, for the Grammys? Apparently they were down considerably, or?
Yeah, they were down 24% from last year to 19.81 million, to which I say, I can't believe 20 million people wanted to watch the Grammys.
Suckers!
Yeah.
So why do you think that happened? Why do you think the ratings went down?
Well, there's the theory that all the award shows this year have been shifted around because of the Olympics, which start, I believe, next Monday, maybe. So last year, the Grammys were on February 12th. So they're 2 weeks earlier this year than they were last year. So there's a theory that perhaps the shifting timelines could have something to do with it. But I don't know. I still think it's the Grammys, and the Grammys suck, and everybody knows they're out of touch, and nobody wants to watch it. So,
or do you think maybe people are just all of a sudden acquiring taste?
Do you live in America? Well, I don't know, maybe. I mean, apparently Grammys So Male was trending on Twitter after all the winners last night. So, I mean, maybe people are starting to wake up to the fact that the Grammys are old and out of touch, but...
Well, it's just another award show in a series of award shows. So we have the Grammys, we had the Golden Globes, we have the Oscars coming up, obviously.
On March the 4th, I believe. That was shifted back a week this year, I think, because of the Olympics.
So do we really need to move things around for the Olympics?
No.
Anymore?
No. I mean, do people even watch the Olympics anymore anyways? Especially with them...
Winter Olympics.
Yeah, especially with them being tape delayed, and you can find out all the winners. I mean, they're in, South Korea this year? So it's 12 hours-ish ahead of the East Coast. So you can find out all the winners in advance of NBC deciding to put on their soft focus, jingoistic, candlelit packages of tape delayed nonsense. That made no sense whatsoever.
What do you really think about that?
Don't get me started on NBC tape delaying the Olympics. I will go off on a rant about that, but that's not what this podcast is about.
Well,
this is our musical spectacular.
It is partially about rants, but I think that the more salient point here about the Olympics is that in this day and age, ratings are not just a linear thing. It's not just you sit in front of your TV and you consume content. It's about different things now. It's about getting alerts on your phone. It's about watching a highlight on your iPad. It's about sitting in front of your computer. It's about doing this, doing that. It's not just watching it on TV. So I think that if the other networks and other awards bodies are worried about the Olympics stealing their thunder, then I don't think that works anymore.
Right. This isn't like it was in 1980 when the Miracle on Ice happened and
everybody was watching.
Right, and everybody was watching because there were 3 TV stations and, there was no other choice.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we're in agreement on this, surprisingly.
Right. Rock and roll?
Speaking of rock and roll...
That was not planned.
So, Lord Huron, who is a big favorite of the Coco and Dalts podcast.
Yes, love the Lord Huron.
Lord Huron has a new album coming out, and the name of the album is Vide Noir, Videnoir.
Is that...
Now, I knew you were going to ask me what that means, so while you talk, I will...
Is that like sous vide, the cooking technique that when I watched a lot of the Food Network, they used to do a lot of, and I can't remember what it was. Like maybe they put something in like a little plastic baggie and they shrink wrapped it and then they put it in water or something?
Close.
Maybe. I've had some wine tonight, so I'm not really...
So the translation is dark void or black void.
Okay.
So
like my heart.
No, that's not true. So the new album from Lord Huron has two. So it's the album is dropping April 20th. Mm-hmm. The third LP. LP. Do they call them LPs still? Really? Long play record?
Well, they do call them EPs, so maybe.
There's still records anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
That's coming out, and it's a little wacky. It's a little bit changed, a little bit different, but so it's got a double single that released. It was called Ancient Names Parts 1 and 2. Ancient Names Part 1 is very interesting and good. Part 2 is a little shorter and I don't think as good. But what was your first impression of the new Lord Huron?
It's definitely a change in musical direction. The first two albums are more not up tempo and more kind of, I hate to say country sounding because they're not.
But folky.
But yeah, folky.
Country.
Yeah, and this one is more pop-like, although it's not really pop.
But it's not an accessible pop 3-minute song. It's
it's just
poppier.
I was very surprised when Dalts played it for me the other day after I had seen it. I like Lord Huron on Facebook, and I had seen it pop up in my Facebook feed, and I just hadn't gotten around to listening to it. And then Dalts put it on, and it's catchy, I like it, but that's not the sound that I would have expected from Lord Huron. So I'm wondering what the full LP is going to sound like, because I can't imagine that would be the first single if it were a radically different sound than the entire rest of the album.
Maybe he's just trying to mix it up a little bit. Maybe he's going totally contrary to expectations by the record industry and releasing what he did.
That's true. Like
being alternative,
right? Alternative music album,
perhaps.
So, what did you think?
I liked it. I liked I liked the first part of it. The second part I didn't like so much. I like the longer songs. I like the well thought out, well drawn out, properly. Like The War on Drugs has 2 long songs on that album, and I like both of them, and they're fantastic. And they're not too long. One of them is almost 12 minutes long, but it's still a pretty decent song. So I don't mind long songs if they're a worthwhile journey. There's a couple of bands that have had long songs that I can't remember off the top of my head that have not been worth the journey, and then just kind of doing it for the sake of doing it, jamming for the sake of jamming. But if it's done properly, I think it's good. I think it'd be good. And Lord Huron is good. So we're talking about new albums in 2018. Other bands coming out with new albums in 2018 of note.
Who would that be?
So remember Franz Ferdinand?
Oh, God. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a name from like 2004.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about a throwback. So they are coming out with a new album. Dashboard Confessional, another big band. Let's see. Cowboy Junkies.
Whoa.
Talk about a throwback there. They're coming out with something. Moby's coming out with a new album on March 2nd called Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt. Moby being a fantastic DJ type artist. David Byrne coming out with a new album March 9th. Editors, of course, coming out. One of my favorite bands, Editors, coming out with an album called Violence on March 9th. Also on March 9th, this is a big day, March 9th. Judas Priest.
Whoa.
They're still together.
Oh, man.
They're still producing albums. And we've got Jack White on March 23rd.
I know you love him.
Jack White, I think, is overrated. There, I said it. April 6th, you'll get a kick out of this. Kylie Minogue.
Wow.
Godsmack and Shinedown also coming out with albums in April. 2 bands that I like. Here's another one. May 18th. Echo and the Bunnymen.
From the 70s Echo and the Bunnymen?
Well, the 80s. But yeah, a long time ago.
Wow.
Snow Patrol a week later. Owl City.
Yeah, I think they're kind of overrated.
Arctic Monkey, also coming out in 2018, but they don't have release dates pinned yet. Arctic Monkeys, Avril Lavigne.
Ooh, yeah.
Bastille. Breaking Benjamin, another favorite of mine. And someone who's from the same country as I am, but that's where the similarities end. Celine Dion.
Oh, man. So it's kind of going to be a dismal year for the music industry, is what you're saying, based on these release dates.
I'm looking forward to the new album by Cypress Hill. It's called Elephants on Acid.
Oh, God. Really?
Interpol is coming out with a new album. I love the Interpol.
We saw them.
Loretta Lynn coming out with a new album. And I'm saving the best for last, and it's also a nice segue to our next segment. Because coming out with a new album on February 2nd called Man of the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this previously as to people who have gotten passes for past crimes, and we don't know why.
Right.
I don't want to put Justin Timberlake in the same category as Woody Allen, but for the sake of this podcast, why does Woody Allen, up until a couple of months ago, why has he gotten a pass for all those nasty things he did? Justin Timberlake, not in the same class, obviously didn't do those kinds of bad things, but the whole Super Bowl halftime thing with Janet Jackson.
Right. Janet
Jackson's career gets sewered after that.
Right.
Justin Timberlake is bigger and better than ever.
Yeah. I don't understand. I think he's always, he can sing and dance, but that's a dime a dozen in the music industry.
He was good in The Social Network. He can act too.
No, I don't think that's right at all.
You didn't like that?
I thought he was the weakest link by far in The Social Network, especially like the way it was edited, like the fast cuts, to him. Like I thought it just kind of highlighted how weak he was.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's charming.
He was okay.
He's charming on Saturday Night Live, and that's about the extent of his acting abilities, I think. He's good for 4 minutes, and then in a limited,
small doses.
D in a box type situation, and then, which is still fantastic.
It's pretty funny.
I'm never going to get tired of D in a box, but
it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So we are, not only do we not watch award shows, but we also don't really watch big sporting events.
What do we watch? Well, actually, we watch all sorts of things on Netflix.
Right. We just finally finished Stranger Things too. So,
yes, we did.
Yeah. So we're not really going to watch the Super Bowl next weekend, and Justin Timberlake is the halftime show, and there are rumors that Janet might come back and perform with him. If I were her, I would absolutely not do that. I don't care what kind of career boost she needs, because he threw her under the bus.
He totally did.
After the wardrobe malfunction, which, bro, come on, really? Wardrobe malfunction? That's the best you can do? Yeah. Like, he's made some noises lately that they've kissed and made up, but her career has not been the same.
It has not recovered.
The most that happened to him was he was supposed to host some kind of Motown retrospective on CBS, I believe, and after the wardrobe malfunction, that got taken away from him, possibly because of the wardrobe malfunction, but also possibly because somebody realized maybe having this 25-year-old white kid hosting a Motown retrospective is not good optics. So
perhaps not appropriate.
Right, exactly. So I can't remember who they gave it to. It was like Kanye or somebody.
More appropriate.
Right, exactly.
Somebody with more chops.
Yeah, but JT has a history of just being a horrible kind of person. And I firmly believe that if Britney had been dating JC Chazé instead of Justin, then JC would be the big deal now out of the 5 NSYNC guys, because they were all talented and good singers and good dancers. He just happened to be the one dating the biggest pop icon on the planet at that time.
Yep.
And so he got the bonus of having her to springboard his solo career. And then especially when the whole thing happened with him dumping her and using that as musical and video fodder, et cetera, et cetera. Like, why do you get to throw Britney under the bus too? And she gave you your career. Yeah. And yeah.
So out of that whole Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction thing, society has 2 things to thank for. Well, North American society anyway. Mm-hmm. One, the term wardrobe malfunction, which is now commonplace.
That is very true. That has persisted.
It's persisted, and it's still referred to this very day. Mm-hmm. And 2, or B, depending on how you're scoring at home, we have the 7-second delay on TV on all live events.
Yeah.
Because of the whole Nipplegate thing. So,
which you couldn't So I wasn't watching that Super Bowl either, actually, because I am not a Patriots fan, and so I don't...
They were in that one, too?
They were.
So they've been in every one, haven't they? The Patriots? Every Super Bowl, they pretty much are
for
in?
the past 20 years.
Yeah.
I think that was actually the Patriots-Panthers Super Bowl, maybe? It might have been a Patriots-Eagles replay. But yeah, so I wasn't watching that Super Bowl either because I don't like them and I didn't want to see them win. And so I missed the infamous wardrobe malfunction, but I did see obviously the replays because everybody in the world has seen the replays and you can't see anything. Like he rips the thing off and she kind of looks startled and then it cuts. So
February 1st, 2004 from Houston, Texas. The network was CBS. Mm-hmm. And let's see who the teams were here. It was, I'm sure you're right, but for the sake of accuracy, we must fully fact check this as we are doing the show.
We've got our crack research team.
I'm waving frantically at the crack research team to get us the information.
I believe it was the Panthers. I believe it was Tom Brady versus Jake Delhomme as the starting QBs, but I could be wrong about that because
there's just way too much information about this right now. So
because we went to happy hour before we did the podcast, so
there's nothing wrong with that.
My memory could be a little fuzzy, but
yeah. So that's what happened. That's why we're talking about Justin Timberlake is because he's coming up. He's going back to the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
He is. He's going
total pass.
Total pass. Including when he had his friends make videos of homeless people wishing him and Jessica Biel congratulations on their wedding, and they played it at the reception, and there was much laughter in the hall. Yeah, total pass. Total pass for him not doing anything to promote his charity golf tournament for the Shriners Hospital for Children. So the Shriners stripped him of his name on the charity golf tournament, but he gets a pass for that. Like... Terrible, terrible person.
So you know you're a quality guy when the Shriners
don't want anything to do with you.
They're turned off. Like those guys, they're the guys with the hats and the little cars, right? So they're
the Shriners are like, we'll get Coco and Dalts on this. We know they'll show up. Screw you, Justin Timberlake, and your sexy back, like, and your D in a box, like.
Oh, Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. So,
where are you now?
Well, I've not listened to any of the singles that he's released off his album, but I understand none of them is amazing.
Well, the reception by his latest has not been warm. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. He's trying. I think he tried to go in a little bit of a country direction, and people were saying, "Yeah, no, that's probably not appropriate." You didn't do a very good job.
How are you going to moonwalk while playing the banjo or whatever?
How do you bring sexy back to country music?
to flannel and beards.
Stereotypes are us here on Coco and Dalts.
Well,
just to put a cap in the, now that I've found the answer, I mean, now that the crack research team has gotten me the sheet of paper just in, they, here we go. Thank you very much. And New England Patriots 32, Carolina Panthers 29.
Who are
in that Super Bowl?
Who are the starting quarterbacks in that Super Bowl?
Okay, so
Lars, get on it.
Tom Brady, quarterback he was the MVP of that specific Super Bowl, and I'm still looking. I mean, our crack research staff is turning this podcast into a disaster.
We have really good intentions, and look what happens.
You know what? Why would I doubt the Jake? What did you say, Jake?
Jake Delhomme.
Yeah. Why would I doubt that?
I seem to remember Chris Berman calling him "Daylight Come and I Want a Delhomme." I seem to remember that in my Pinot Grigio-addled mind.
QB Jake Delhomme.
There we go.
So I've looked all that stuff up for pretty much nothing.
Because
you had it in your mind and you shared it with us, and then I, being diligent, tried to confirm it, and it was right anyway. So
it is neither Jake Delhomme nor the Panthers in the Super Bowl this coming weekend. It's the Eagles, and I don't know who the hell their quarterback is. So Nick Foles, I think. Who knows? We don't care. So
it's not
not something we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch the Puppy Bowl. That's what we're gonna watch.
Well, I think it's about time we wrapped up another edition of Coco and Dalts, the podcast.
Are we gonna have to retape this?
I think this might be on the cutting room floor, this edition. Nonetheless, thank you for joining us, and we hope that this won't put you off from joining us again.
We can talk about the Grammys more.
I'm not Coco.
And I guess I'm not Dalts.